Happy Tuesday, everyone. I want to take a few minutes just to try to encourage you. I'm going to ask you, if you have your Bible, to go ahead and open to 1 Peter chapter 5, but you may know this verse by heart. The first verse I want to mention is 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 7. It's a verse that we commonly use as a verse of encouragement, where Peter tells us, he says, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. And when we're going through times of difficulty, when the stress of a circumstance or the pain of an affliction is really bothering us, it's wonderful to know that we can cast those things upon the Lord, knowing this, that he cares for us. And that phrase, that last phrase, literally means that our cares are a care to him. And so we can bring these things before the Lord because he cares for us. But the thing that I want us to really notice today, and I think that is often overlooked, is that if you were to look at the very last punctuation mark in verse 6, the verse just prior to that, you'll notice that it's not a period, it's not an exclamation point, it's not a question mark. That punctuation is a colon. And what that tells us is that verse 7 is actually a continuation of a thought that the apostle started in verse 6. And I think that us being able to do verse 7 is also contingent upon our attitude that we're supposed to have in verse 6. And so I want you to look at verse 6, where Paul says this. He says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God. Now note this, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he might exalt you in due time. Now that's the attitude that we need to have so that we can have the confidence of verse 7 that we can cast all our care upon him. We need to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God, under the authority of God. And what this verse tells us is that when we bow down, God is the one that lifts us up. And let me tell you something, God never exalts a person who is not ready. God will only exalt those who manifest this kind of an attitude. And let me tell you this, being humble is not thinking yourself to be humble. As a matter of fact, if you really focus on yourself and think yourself to be humble, that's kind of an attitude of pride. But this kind of humility is having the right estimation of yourself before God, recognizing your true value. Now, God values us a lot, but really in and of ourselves, we have very little value. Humility is the opposite of pride. It's an attitude toward God that gives him the credit for who we are, for all that we're able to do. And humility is a willingness to take the low place, realizing that that's where we belong. Really, the word humility here literally means to be brought low right to the ground as far as estimating ourselves. That's what true humility is all about. It means to place yourself in subjection to and submission to the will of God. It is being content with your circumstances, realizing that you don't deserve any better. And certainly we all deserve far worse. I remember asking someone every week, how are you doing? And they would always reply, far better than I deserve. And that is so true if we truly believe that. And when you humble yourself under God's divine authority, he promises this, that at some point, at just the right time, he will exalt you. He will lift you up at just the right time for his glory and for your good. So, cast your care upon him, knowing this, that he cares for you. Your care is a care for him. But as you cast your care upon him, do it with the right attitude of humility, and you'll see God lift you up in due time. Have a wonderful day.